Welcome to the Unraveling Achiever, the podcast for the person who's done everything right and is now questioning what that even means. I'm Angela McKay, former SVP of HR turned intuitive career coach and soul reading practitioner. I help accomplished folks like you to stop defaulting to what looks good and start building what feels true. Because you don't have to turn your life upside down. You just need to point your achiever energy toward a soul-led career and life you'll love. Every episode, I tune into the energy of what's showing up for my clients and community and share what needs to be heard. No bypassing the mess, just honest guidance for the unraveling that changes everything. Let's get into it. Today, I'm doing something a bit different than the other episodes. No worries, it's still intuitive messages, that's the same. But when I tuned into what the community might want to hear about, I received it in a visionary way. So, as you know, in this podcast, I'm often speaking to the high achievers who feel trapped by what they've created or stuck on their path or really they want to start doing life on their own terms rather than the default path. And they're not exactly sure which way to go. It's really easy to be pulled towards what you're normally pulled towards. But we just start to question it sometimes. Like, is that really where I want to go? Is that really what I want to do? I've wanted to do that before. Do I want to do that now? So you really find yourself in this place of, I think I want something that's different than that. And that can be a scary thought. Today, as I was tuning in for the message of what we might want to hear about, I received the image of someone who has built something successful that gives them stability, security, comfort, and the ability to enjoy life. This is like a future version of you. So with that, I'm imagining you as someone who has built something successful that gives you stability, security, comfort, and the ability to enjoy life. I'm tuning into that version of you that exists because she does exist. I'm asking her what she would like for us to know in that space between where you are and where she is, she being you in that version. What does she want for you to know? Alongside tuning into her energy, I'm pulling cards to support the messages that she has for us. Here's what came through. The first message that I received when tapping into her energy, this version of you that has built something successful that gives you stability, security, comfort, and the ability to enjoy life, the first message is supported by the tarot card, the Sun. The Sun is a really positive card. All of the cards have light and shade, whether they're upright or reverse. All of them have light and shade, just like everything in life does. The Sun, though, it's really difficult to find the shade in the Sun card. It's just a really positive card. So in consulting with this version of you and the message that she has for us, one, it's just a message of how happy and grateful and at peace and joyful she really is. There's a lot of life that she lived to get to the place where she is now. And her success, it might not look exactly like you think success looks like. Success to her, it's really rich and fulfilling, like deep down to her bones, just something that she's so grateful for. She is so grateful for the life that she is living. She's so grateful for what she does for work, her vocation. She's so grateful for her family, and she just feels like she's built such a beautiful life. And like I said, maybe that's matching some material ways that you envision success, and maybe it's not. But the point is that she has learned so much along the way that what she has feels so great. A couple of things come with this message. When you think about what it is that you want, if you think of it in a more despair-filled way, like you're comparing it to where you are now, and it doesn't feel good that you don't have that thing that you want yet, and you feel like you might never have that thing that you want, it's almost like you're giving yourself a vision of what you want, and then automatically telling yourself that you'll never have it. So it's actually not a vision at all. You're writing it and erasing it at the exact same time. You're allowing the space between where you are now and where you want to be to feel like this really huge leap, this gap that you'll never be able to close. And that's not helping your case. So, this version of you that exists in the future, who has built something successful that gives them stability, security, comfort, and the ability to enjoy life, there's a certain amount of trust you need to have that they exist, that you, in this version, in fact, exists in that way, and that you can't just snap your fingers and be in that place. She is looking back at you in a way that is so loving and so supportive. And she's reminding you that it's really not about the destination, it's about the journey. I know that feels cliche, but it's everything that she experienced to get to where she is that created where she is. There was no leap from where she was to where she is now. It was all in the actions that she took and the reflections that she made and the self-awareness that she gained and the pointing herself more and more in the direction of what was truly meant for her that got her to where it is that she is now. It wasn't despair for not having it now. It wasn't an automatic assumption that it should be there for her now. There is nothing along that journey that she would trade or get rid of. Absolutely none of it. It was all for a reason. So just really trusting that she's there and that everything that you're doing is for a reason. Now, with that, I do want to emphasize the point of that self-awareness and that reflection and that action. She really worked to find that place of alignment where she continued to point herself in the direction that was meant for her to get to where she is, so that she wasn't building yet another place to get to where she felt stuck or misaligned or trapped. She really took the reins on her choices. Another part then of this sun message is there's just so much joy in the sun card, which is really telling me that you need to pause sometimes and just look around and look up. Find in your life what makes you really happy, what really fills you up. Achievements that we make, they sure feel great in the moment that we've achieved it or we're being recognized for it, but the luster of those fades so quickly. So this is more about what is it in your life that truly feels good and truly makes you feel joy, even if it's not attached to something, especially if it's not attached to something. Let yourself be filled up by those moments. Let those moments remind you of what this life is really about so that you don't get so tunnel visioned on where it is that you want to go and comparing it to where you are and feeling like you're never going to get there. This future version of you, she's just so immersed in those moments because she learned how to see them. She learned how to feel them. It's not necessarily that she's experiencing so many more of them than you are. It's that she really learned how to see them and let them hold a place in her life that's really meaningful. So that part of her that has this ability to enjoy life, it's because of what she chooses to see when she looks at the life she has created. There's a really big perspective shift right there. There's so much hopefulness in this sun card, this version of you that exists. This is possible for you. Maintain that in your forward movement, that it's absolutely possible for you to be this future version of you. She's there and she exists for a reason. But you need to make sure that you're not cutting yourself off in your present moment by automatically assuming that won't be there for you. Don't write and erase at the same time. And you have to find joy and appreciation in the moments you have right now. At all times, we have to be working with our present moment. It's literally the only thing we have. Learning to see joy in the life you have now, that's what trains you to hold the light she's built, where she really has the ability to enjoy life. And part of that journey, part of getting to where she is making sure you're actually on the right path, your path, not the default path that's been laid out for you. Which brings us to the second message. The second message is the Eight of Wands in reverse. The Eight of Wands in its upright position is a very fast moving card. The Wands is a suit of passion, creation, manifestation, spirituality in some cases. It's the fire in your belly, connection, drive. And not only is it a more forward moving, actionable suit, the Eight of Wands specifically is a very quick moving card. But I received this in reverse. And when I'm tapping into her energy and asking her what this Eight of Wands is for, this is referencing what I touched on in that first message. And it's connecting to some other messages we've heard in episodes recently if you've been following along. So the opposite of moving fast is slowing down. Reversals aren't always an opposite, but in this one, it's presenting as an opposite. It is a slow down. It's been easy in the past to point at something and go in that direction because it was kind of laid out for you, the traditional path, the path of the achiever, the path of somebody who is good at something and can be relied on for it and is valued for it. It's pretty easy to see that path because those around you kind of point that path out for you. Get great grades, get the excellent performance review, get the promotion, climb the ladder. These are default paths. And for high achievers, it's really easy to just slip into them. But they don't always lead to what it is that you actually wanted. And you've never really slowed down to ask yourself what it is that you actually want. You just accepted the obvious want as your want because it's the most typical, accepted, expected path to take. But this version of you that built something successful, that gives them stability, security, comfort, and the ability to enjoy life, she couldn't take those paths anymore. She couldn't take the paths that weren't written for her. She really had to start to discern the path that was hers, her soul path, the path she was meant to take, the path where work and life can operate in a more harmonious way, not just by logistics, but by purpose and fulfillment and serving in an impactful way in only the way that each of us can in our different makeups. Rather than continuing to run quickly towards the most obvious thing she felt she should do, she slowed down. She did a little bit of work to get more clear on what she was passionate about, work that she wanted to do, not just things that she was good at, but things that brought true aligned fulfillment and enjoyment. Not the rush, that hit of achieving the thing where it feels fulfilling for a moment and then kind of ends up empty and you're chasing the next thing. She's letting you know now it's not about the chase. It's about figuring out what it is that you actually want and then pointing yourself in that direction. And then, only then, you have full permission to go fast. If action forward is the energy that you have in that moment, full permission. She just wants to make sure that you're going full bore at the thing that you actually want. That's how she got to where she is. She knows you can do that because you had to do that to get to where she is right now. So it can't just be about the chase for the thing that looks good or that is impressive or that just kind of keeps you busy because you wouldn't know what to do with yourself otherwise. There's a lot more self-awareness and knowledge to this than that. Slow down, get clear on what you truly want, then point yourself in that direction. That's the path. And to discern what you truly want, to know what your path is versus the default path, you have to be willing to be your authentic self, to let yourself be seen, which is the third message. The third message is the Page of Cups. So, the Page of Cups is a court card. It represents an energy or personality type. The cups is a suit of emotion, intuition, relationship. It's the element of water. There's more flow to it. And when we think about water, it can be super calm or it can be raging, just like emotions can be. The Page of Cups is at the beginning of the court cards. It goes page, knight, queen, king, and it represents an evolution of maturity. So the King of Cups is the most evolved of this cups personality types. The page is the least evolved. And when I'm tuning into the energy of this version of you, of us in the future, it's not like you're the less mature and she's the more mature. But what she's pointing out to us with this card is a need to tap back into yourself so that you can start showing up more in that way. Our Page of Cups is a little bit quirky. Usually they're represented as dressing in a little bit of a quirky way. And that always shows me that they don't care so much about what somebody thinks of them. They just care about showing up in a way that feels really good and true to them. So if you think about wearing a really loud shirt, one version of you might be like, oh, no, that's so tacky, or that's so immature, or what will people think of that? But the Page of Cups is like, I love this shirt. It's comfortable. It makes me feel good. It brings me joy. They just love their shirt. They don't even think about what anybody else is thinking about that shirt. They're just in their world and they like that shirt, so they're going to wear that shirt. This future version of you, she needs you to get in tune with that again. Who are you? What are those quirks that you have that you kind of hide from other people? That you don't show up in that way in certain crowds because it doesn't fit in with that crowd. We want to start shedding some of that. And high achievers, we build up a lot of that. You learn really quickly that there are certain ways that you present in certain places. And the more that you can blend in or sound like somebody else or present like somebody else, the further you might get because you're then one of the group. You'll be accepted by that group and you'll have a better chance of getting to where it is that you want to go. And you know what? That has some advantages to it. But you are at a point in your life where you've done enough of that now. You have done enough of that to make it to the point where you are. And now there's a little bit of a turning point that is wanting to be had. There's a little bit of an I don't give a darn kind of vibe that is coming up where you let yourself show a little bit more. If you're more quirky and you hide it, be more quirky. If you're more funny and you hide it, be more funny. And if you are more uncertain than you present, let your uncertainty show. An example of that is perhaps you're in a meeting and you always feel like you need to appear like you have the answer. And it kind of wrecks your nervous system sometimes because you don't actually always have the answer, but you want to make sure that you keep that presentation of yourself up, that you always have the answer. Maybe this version of you, the more authentic version, is just able to say sometimes, like, you know what, guys? I don't know. I don't know in this moment. I need to think about this. Or, what do you guys have to say about this? You don't always have to present in a way that does not feel true to you. You can show up in a way that is more you. And honestly, when you do, it allows you to relate better to the people around you. It allows you to connect. It allows them to see this level of being human that is loud and safe. When we start showing people that being human is safe in some of these even really small ways, the dynamics can change in such a positive way. But this future version of you, she's letting you know right now that this version of you that built something successful, that gives you stability, security, comfort, and the ability to enjoy life, she didn't do that by acting like somebody else. There is no way that she would be in this ability to enjoy life energy if she had done it acting like somebody else the whole way, making the choices that somebody else would make instead of the choices that she would make. She is her full blown authentic self in this vision. There is not a thing about her that feels like it is not truly her. This is the authentic self, soul version, pure love and light her that is in this vision. Also, in bringing forward this Page of Cups energy, and I hesitate to say childlike for how you might interpret that, but there is a little bit of childlike energy that is coming forward in it. There are just so many ways that we are conditioned to behave differently. And there are so many ways that children are able to be present and curious and joyful and observant and so authentically themselves in the most positive way. And even though those things are so positive for a child, there are just parts of it that end up getting stripped away as we go forward. That parts of those positive elements are just all of a sudden considered no longer appropriate, or you're being told to not ask so many questions, or being told that you shouldn't feel that way. But the positive elements of how children can just be authentically themselves, I really wish that the conditioning of adulthood didn't remove some of those from us. But we can always turn back around and look and bring some of them back into who we are now and let them be seen. Some final elements of that Page of Cups, besides being so authentically themselves, they're really able to do that because of their connection to their intuition and their connection to their emotions. They let their intuition and emotions be just as much a part of who they are as their logical mind. The logical mind gets really emphasized as we go further along into adulthood and as we're defaulting on those default paths that we have just found ourselves on as high achievers. It somehow becomes seemingly more valued. However, this is a calling to turn back into the intuition and the emotions. Don't ignore your gut. Don't ignore the little whispers that you get that kind of point you towards these curious things and make you think, how did that even come about? Why did that cross my path? And being aware of where your emotions are, because they're a compass. Our emotions, we don't want to act on them. They're not the best driver, but they're really great information. So when you're more in touch with your emotions and you're able to get to the root of why you are experiencing an emotion, you find some really excellent information there to help you determine your next best course of action in a way that is truly aligned with who it is that you are and what it is that you want. Children appear more intuitive than adults because that has not been conditioned out of them yet. They're closer to it because they have no reason to mistrust it or ignore it. And they're also more in touch with their emotions. They show them. Now, I'm not saying that in the middle of that big meeting, you should have an emotional outburst like a child would. You've gotten to a point where you can have a little bit more control of yourself in those moments. But control of yourself in those moments does not mean that you're not experiencing emotions. It's just determining what the emotion is and allowing it to inform you as to what's important to you in that moment, what is butting up against your values, and what your next best step is. So, those are the three messages from this future version of you. This version of you that has built something successful that gives you stability, security, comfort, and the ability to enjoy life. Talking about just her energy alone, she feels so calm, so grounded, so loving. She has a sense of humor. She's so assuring. There's just no doubt that is present in her, at least not doubt that she lets get in the way of who she is and where she is. It's so solid feeling. And it also feels very much a green energy, which is heart chakra energy. So I'm not surprised at how loving she feels. The heart is the center of the seven main chakras. There's three below and there's three above it. And it's a really great center point, a transition point, and this beautiful balance of our universal connection and our connection to the earth. And she's just so centered in that place of trusting universal spiritual connection and having her feet on the ground and being very present in this lifetime and very present in her moment and being very grateful and joyful for what she has created and just the life around her in general. And she got there by trusting the journey and finding joy along the way, by slowing down to discern her true path instead of running the default path, by being her full, authentic self instead of acting like somebody else. That's how she became who she is and created what she created. And that's what she wants you to know. To recap the 3 messages from this future self, from this version of you: message 1, she's there, she's joyful, and the journey matters. Don't write and erase your vision at the same time. Trust that she exists. Everything you're experiencing is for a reason, and find joy in your life right now, in the present moments. Learn to see the joy that's already there. Message 2, slow down to discover what you truly want. You've been running fast on the default paths, the obvious expected paths, but she couldn't take those paths anymore. She had to discern her soul path. So slow down to get clear on what you're actually passionate about, what you actually want. Then you can go fast towards that. And message 3, be your full authentic self. Show your quirks. Stop hiding parts of yourself to fit in. She got to where she is by being her authentic self, not by acting like somebody else. Tap back into that childlike energy, intuition, the emotions, the curiosity, the authenticity. Let yourself be seen. If what you heard today resonated, I'd love to support you in going deeper. Soul Reading is a 75-minute one-on-one session where I open your Akashic records, which are like the library of you, and help you reconnect with what your soul already knows about your path, your purpose, and what's next. You can learn more and book at angelaMckayllc.com/soul-reading. And if this episode landed for you, subscribe or follow so you don't miss what's coming next. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Thanks for being here, and until next time, take care.